the offer could be the best in the world, but if you're not getting out in the box, you're not going to have a chance. So it's a necessary prerequisite to have Lofty or some other system that allows you to be front and center, first and foremost, and stay consistent.
As everyone's jumping in, let's go through the queue and see where everybody's coming in from. Zach, you're first on my screen, buddy. You're the sales manager. Where are you coming in from? From FAM Realty.
I live in Dana Point myself, so like South Orange County. And then my business partner is actually down in North San Diego County, Oceanside. So I'm like 4 or 5 days up here, and then I'm down in Carlsbad, Oceanside, the rest of the week.
That's cool, dude. You're about 3 hours from me, so not too bad, dude. I
Yeah.
love your area. Love your area. Robert, where are you coming in from today, dude? North?
Today I'm over. No, I'm on the west coast of Florida today. I live in Miami, but I'm in Sarasota, Bradenton today. Speaking so.
Nice, man. Nice. And Stuart and Brady. Stuart, where are you out of today?
I am out of Vancouver, British Columbia.
Nice. Do you ever leave, man? Do you have a reason to leave? Vancouver's so nice.
Unfortunately, my requirements for work are that I'm on the road all the time. But
Oh,
that's okay. I can't complain. I love it. Seeing different locations and stuff is really cool.
I like that. And Brady, where are you coming in from?
I'm at the Lofty Mothership here this morning over in Phoenix, Arizona.
Nice. Nice and sunny.
It's gorgeous for now until summer rolls around.
I like it. And I'm from Malibu, California, of the Ventura County side. And today we're going to be talking about what's actually working in the real estate world with all the changes coming. I'm definitely seeing that online leads are working really well for us, but I'm also seeing that there's a concern on the real estate side from two sides here. As a real estate agent team brokerage with the whole compression, buyer commission compression, and then on the other side, on the consumer side, they're actually confused as to what's actually happening for those that know. They're like, what? How does this work? What's going on? So I think it's a lot of opportunity, but I want to hear it from you guys first. I want to, Brady and Stuart, unless you have a
Yeah,
place to start, I want to go to Zach first, if you're okay with that.
sure. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Zach, my question is, you've been with Lofty for a little bit now. What are you guys mainly using it for? Are you using the online lead generation part of it, or are you using it to track the whole team in brokerage?
So mix of both. So one, we do love like Lofty listing ads, Lofty paid leads, things of those nature. One of the reasons I like the listing ads because you have so much control. Like in the matter of a weekend, I can be running 5 ads, and the next weekend I can have 20, if we need a flood of leads. So I like being able to have that control and have them come right into the system. But essentially every inch of Lofty for us as a team is being utilized down to smart plans, tracking where the leads are going, how their flow is through the system. So it's really a mix of both. It's also where we get a lot of our lead tracking, is like, where are they going through the system? If we're running an ad on this area, but they're only staying in one spot, then, not the best. But if we can run them and we can see them move all the way through Lofty, all the way to close, then that's where, we know we're hitting something good.
Got it. I like that. And what's working best for you right now?
So personally, Google has always been a very good one for us. It's not super high quantity. We're not getting 50, 60, 100 Google leads a month, but the Google leads that we do get tend to be very high conversion, which is one of the reasons I like the mix of like a high-end Google call-in lead mixed with the Lofty paid, because we get our quantity so we can hit conversion. And so our newer agents have people to call and have conversations with. And then our more senior agents, when like a Google lead can call in and just say, hey, I need you to come to my house, and give me an analysis, that's a ready to go person. So I like the mix of both. But that's the reason why I like both. One is for more quantity, and the other one is for more, I know I'm only going to get a few of them a month, but they're going to be super high conversion.
I'll come back to that because I know we can turn up the lever and be like, you know what, I want more, I want less.
Yeah.
Robert, if I'm looking at your massive structure in your organization, where do we start with you, dude? You have like so many things that are working. If you're thinking what's working the best right now, what would that be for you guys?
Well, we've built a really good foundation. I mean, from the lead generation side, we are fortunate and, blessed to be recognized as a Google case study last year for how we lead generate. But then lead generation is just the first step. So we really excel at the lead conversion, which is where Lofty has really been a key differentiator for us. But above and beyond that foundation, what we're really doing well at is essentially the offers that we make to potential leads. And that's what I'll spend most of my focus on today.
Ooh, I like that, man. And we're going to come back to that. I want to know the offers. I like that. Stuart, where are you watching as far as agents coming in using Lofty at a high level? What's working for them?
Well, Tristan, it's an interesting conversation, right? You mentioned it already with what's going on with the buyer leads, right? The portal wars, what are Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin all going to do? So when I think about it, it's not just about lead generation, it's about conversion, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today more than anything, lead generation, and how do we convert those leads at a better level? So when I look at people coming into Lofty, first of all, you've heard me say this before, embrace technology. It's there for a reason and people are successful using it. So jump on board. And Lofty for us, we are truly a full platform. So it's CRM, it's website, it's social media marketing, it's lead generation, it's very driven by conversion to convert through AI, right? Which means taking a lot of the heavy lifting off your shoulders as an agent, and then notifying you when someone does engage with you properly. So the lead scoring side of things is super important at this point. Again, and I'm excited about the conversation because it is it's always relevant, but even today it's even more relevant.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, we'll come back to you because you're going to show us all those different points you want to touch on. So thanks, Stuart. I love that. Brady, what about you, man? What are you seeing out there?
The major emphasis to Zach's point is the quality comes from those Google leads, but I think it's the two-step combination of attracting new leads with Google because there's intent there, people are doing research, and then following up that with retargeting those new leads on social media. It's about surrounding that lead with your brand presence, your information, making sure they're going back to your system and your site multiple times. I mean, that's what we're thinking about to differentiate one agent and one team from another that isn't showing that strong of a presence after the lead has been captured, right? It's going back to the spirit of conversion.
I like that, man. Yeah, and I think that probably is the biggest difference. Going back to what Robert said, which is he set the foundation right, so now he can keep growing on the conversion side. That makes a lot of sense. That's probably the biggest secret weapon that we have using Lofty. I like that. All right, Stuart, what do you have for us, man?
Yeah, so again, it's such an interesting time, and I want to hear everybody's thoughts on certain parts of the business, right? So, let's start with you, Tristan. When you think about lead generation, how do you actually measure the effectiveness of your lead generation efforts? Obviously, other than just closing transactions, short term, long term.
Well, I like to take a look at it and I like to take a look at the conversations that we have. So we record a lot of the calls. And in California, we always have to say, hey, you're on a recorded line type of thing. And then we record.
Yep.
On Thursdays, I jump on with the team and we record live. So everyone gets to listen in. And one of the things I've noticed over a very long period of time is that everyone is typically used to, oh, that call didn't go well, next. And then it's the rushed problem. And what we've noticed is that the longer you talk to someone where they can feel, these are all Google PPC or Facebook lead ads, they can feel like they have permission to waste your time, they'll open up. They're like, oh, this person's like, not like everybody else. And so, yeah, I'll talk. And that one key has been the difference for us in connecting with people deeper. So we have a higher conversion rate on Google PPC. And the team and other people just listen and they're like, oh man, I need to slow down. I need to ask better questions. I need to actually care. And that for us is at the core of online leads. It's like, if you're the problem, you may not see it unless you slow down. So for us,
Right.
it's not really so much Google PPC, Facebook lead ads. It's the quality of the conversation that starts with us.
Right. So building the relationship, discovering what the person is actually using for. So Zach, I'm going to ask you the same question, right? How do you measure the effectiveness of your lead generation efforts
That's
outside of closings?
That's a major one. I want to go to conversations. Conversation is the #1 metric that I like to track over on this side, because if we can have a batch of leads and have 30, 40, 50 have high, quantity of conversations, but they're not moving forwards, it's very easy to see where that problem is, kind of going to where Tristan's saying. So being able to go and listen to the call. And what I hear a lot is agents love to qualify like an internet buyer lead before they've even got a second to know who that agent is or who the person is on the other phone. So switching to higher quality questions, versus more questions, I think is what a lot of agents tend to do. They just ping a new internet lead with like a million questions off the bat, and they don't ask a high enough quality question to really get them to open up and tell you where they're at. I think a lot of times we get the fake answers. We like to ask timeline right off the bat. Agents jump in, great, when do you want to get in a home? And they're already going to say 3 or 6 months. They're just going to throw that out there because you asked it so quick. So along Tristan, really getting them to open up, having higher quality questions that are bringing real answers. Once you have that connection and you go, hey, when do you want to be in a home? You get a real answer, instead of just the wall grow out answer. So that's a big one. It's role play, role play, role play, and then have the proper value stack to where they want to open up and, really talk with you.
Got it. So I'm going to shift to Robert here, but I'm going to go in a little bit different direction, but the same question. But Robert, when you think about the number of leads coming in and the number of agents following up on each one of those leads, how do you, as a brokerage, remain effective, when you're competing against, 15 to 20 people calling your lead at the same time?
Well, that's all I was getting at in terms. So all the focus on lead generation is put on activities. How quickly are we calling? How many times are we calling? What are we doing with follow-up cadence? How many times are we following up over what period? And it's a bit like, so I used to play baseball, so it's a bit about like putting all the emphasis on getting your bat and stepping into the box. Well, that just gets you up to the plate. So like once you're in the box, you have to see the pitch, identify it, put a good swing on it. And that's where the big differentiator comes from, which comes down to making an offer that differentiates yourself from those other 12 to 15 people that are fundamentally going after that lead with the same value prop. And so the offer could be the best in the world, but if you're not getting out in the box, you're not going to have a chance. So it's a necessary prerequisite to have Lofty or some other system that allows you to be front and center, first and foremost, and stay consistent. But once you're up there, you have to be making an offer that differentiates yourself. And that's what we've been doing really effectively.
So you hear, leaders in the industry constantly talking about top of funnel, top of funnel, top of funnel. You got to get the activity, you got people coming in the door. But sometimes what happens is they kind of forget about the actual lead capture process. And that, I guess that's kind of what you're saying. Maybe just elaborate a little bit on the lead capture side of things.
In terms of how we're capturing leads, or
how do you optimize the lead capture process?
Okay, so honestly, so the number one thing that we've done, obviously, before when we were on Boomtown before, when we switched to Lofty, we actually did a 2-year-long analysis of all of our ad spend, and we consolidated around our top sources, and we run it all through Lofty's ads team. So there's a lot of focus on, like, a lot of people are like, oh, I have 35 different lead levers, as if more is always merrier. When we actually sat down, we found that Google for us had a 9x return. This was 2 years ago before our commission rates even doubled. So we had a 9x return on Google, but on Facebook, when you actually factor in a time element, the time it took to sift through all those leads and nurture them, we only had a 2.5x return. So why would we push more money into a lower performing lead source? Zillow was a 1-to-1 return. We were spending $1 to make $1. So the first thing we did was consolidate it around, we put more wood behind our, fewer arrows. I forget who said that. I think it was Google's founder, but we put more wood behind fewer arrows, and those arrows went further. But beyond that, everyone is looking to lead capture in the same ponds, essentially. It's not like someone has a secret, a silver bullet where they're the only ones that have access to this platform. If that's the case, no one's searching on it, you're not going to get any leads.
Got it.
So if everyone's in the same ponds, how do you differentiate yourself? And that really comes down to having a system where you're optimizing it consistently over time. I'll finish with this. A couple days ago, I actually sat down with someone that was blown away by the fact that we would have above a 10x return and converting roughly 10% of our leads. And I walked him through how we've done that. Well, it's been a 3.5 year long process where we track dozens of different KPIs across our lead generation funnel, and we optimize it on a regular basis. So that if you want to really outperform the competition, the devil is in the details in the analysis.
Let me ask Zach that same question. How does your team optimize the lead capture process to make it effective?
So I first off want to say just tracking is huge. If somebody's not checking their daily, numbers on what leads have come in, how many conversations come, where they're at in the system, tracking is everything. Otherwise you don't have that data, that Robert's talking about.
Mhm.
So I 100% agree. I think a lot of agents end up throwing essentially $1,000 here, $1,000 there, $500 here, $500 there. And it's just nothing's really pumping well. Where if you can just find those one or few things that work, hit them really hard, but then learn how to be impressive to that person that's coming in, whether it be Google, whatever it is, your target base. I think that's the big part is like when that agent gets on the phone, they need to be instantly impressive to capture that lead. Otherwise that, like you said, that lead, and I credit Realtor.com years ago when we first joined them, they're like, hey, you're battling for this lead. Whoever gets this first, like they're both calling. So we upped it heavy. We were calling the second it ended, there was a video coming in a text, all those things just to be an impressive agent. And I want to give Lofty a big one because we can do everything in one place. Before we had to use 3-4 different systems just to get everything we wanted in front of them. I can literally have a smart plan that starts, they move the lead over, bam. They're getting everything sent right to them. They're getting a video from the agent, and they can be impressive to keep them with us. We know they're going to get other calls. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, they're going to get a lot.
They're going to get another call.
Right. Tristan, I'm going to veer off a little bit, and I'm going to ask you a question that directly relates to kind of today's environment. So what do you see? How do you see the portals changing their philosophy? We've heard about Zillow building a super app and Realtor.com trying to keep up. What do you think is going to change? Traditionally they provided lots of buyer leads. The seller leads were much more harder to come by and more expensive. Give me a quick minute overview on that one.
Yeah, I'll give you what I'm watching happening. Zillow they now have competition for the first time ever. Realtor.com was not competition. They were always getting it wrong their whole life. And now homes.com's like, hey, we're here. And you're watching Zillow kind of panic a little bit to the point that I'm watching something that could happen, which is, does Zillow buy Realtor.com? Because Realtor.com's been on the block for sale for a little bit. If they do, now that kind of evens it up, because as it stands right now, Homes.com, CoStar has got way more money to invest than Zillow. Here's how it changes. They're going to continue to take a bigger piece of the agent's commission. That's their job. And they're going to take a bigger piece of everything that they touch, right? If you look at
programs like Flex, right?
Yeah, not only Flex, but everything else they've bought, it's like, let's put it all in one place to make it easier for us to take a piece of something so we can be profitable besides the only thing we're profitable on, which is Zillow Premier Agent, right? Which is the whole idea of taking our commission, pieces of our commission. That's what's going to happen, dude. We're watching it happen. Yep.
What about and I agree with you because I'm actually a huge follower of Homes and Zillow, to be honest with you, because I do think they do have some value. And I agree on the Realtor.com side. What about like something like a Redfin or an Ojo Labs coming into the market as a new player?
Yeah, Ojo, you watched Ojo shift too. They're like, hey, you know what? This isn't like we thought it would be when we're sending a referral out. It's kind of hard to have the agent close it. So why not have them pay us up front so that they have skin in
Right.
the game? They realized how hard it was, right? And they're smart people over there. And then with Redfin, Redfin is definitely trying to eliminate part of what the agent does to be able to keep a larger portion of that to give back to the consumer. Look at the thing they just added last week, the AI
That's right.
piece,
Yeah.
right? That means that, hey, you know what? Agents, you don't really need them all up front. We can do a lot of that work for you, and we'll give you a percentage back or whatever. And agents are going to be more and more like staff, employees, and they've already shown that they've tried that in a lot of places. So look, all of these companies are going to come after us, but if you're following what Robert and Zach are doing, which is what we're doing is we're building relationships, but we're focused on the core of our businesses so that the people that we're touching, Google, Facebook, doesn't matter from where, they feel like we actually care and we're having a higher closing conversion ratio because of it. Nobody
I,
can beat us on a neighborhood level. Nobody. Everybody here.
I think those are some great comments, and I appreciate the direct and to the point views on the portals and where it's going, but it's an important piece and leads into my next question, which is for Robert, which is really, Robert, how important has it been for your team to adapt and innovate their lead generation tactics, right? So what we did yesterday might not work tomorrow. So which way are you shifting? And do you have any tips on staying ahead of the curve?
Well, it's all going to come down to actually having an understanding of what you're trying to optimize. Most people do more harm than good by trying to optimize it with just shooting in the dark. They're trying to make too many changes too consistently. Their campaigns never mature, never learn and stabilize. So we're looking to optimize on a 60 to 90-day cadence on those campaigns. But then on top of it, we're looking to get more creative in how we drive channel sales and content marketing. So anyone can just shell out money for Google PPC. You guys should also check out Google PMax, by the way. It's very effective. But anyone can do that. It's literally just a matter of how much money you want to put into a campaign. You want to put in more than the competition. But where you can really differentiate yourself is something that Tristan does really well, which is after you capture that lead, that's the easy part. How are you driving them down the funnel? Top of the funnel is the easiest part. It's putting bait on the line and just throwing it out into the water. But now that you have the fish on the hook, you got to put a little work in and reel it in. And so how are you driving them down the funnel and delivering them specific offers all the way down the funnel until you convert them?
Right. So search to settlement, essentially, right? How are you from the time the consumer engages with you all the way through to they actually buy or sell a home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Zach, let's take that a little further. So what creative strategies has your team implemented to help feed your lead generation pipeline, right? So I love what you said earlier about, Lofty generating stuff in the system, but also where are you going, that's a little more creative than most people are doing.
So I don't come from internet leads. I was originally an ISA when I first came to my business partner. So
Gotcha.
my first year in real estate, I did about 120,000 calls. So at heart, I'm a cold prospector. To this day, being sales manager, I still make about 2,000 calls a month. And personally, I think there's so much missed opportunity. I'll give like a random example. I went and talked to a FSBO. It's like a $2.8 million house down the street. It's been FSBO for about 3 years. Just within the time I was there, 4 other brokers came in to give a listing presentation.
Wow.
And what they didn't hear is that he doesn't want to sell. Even though he's on market sitting there in his house every single weekend for an open house, what I heard from him is it was an escape from his family life that he had at his other home. So he actually doesn't want to sell that house. So I turned, and this is what we're all talking about here, relationships, value. I switched my value stack, and all these other agents, I still watch them go in and pitch them every weekend. He probably has 5 listing presentations from the same brokers, same agents, and people trying to get it. I swing by every morning before his open house, bring him a peach iced tea, and he calls me Sunday night and gives me all the buyers from his open house.
Wow.
So for the 15 minutes that I go and bring him a peach iced tea, because for him, that 10-minute of conversation is valuable. I put out an unbranded open house sign for him, 10, 15 minutes. I can get 5 to 6 leads sent to me every weekend, and they're in a $2-3 million range. So I think it's getting more creative that way and actually listening to the value that people need, because they will return it. Like that's how law of reciprocity works. So if I'm bringing you value with conversation and not trying to sell you on selling your homes, I know you don't want to, AKA you're going to repay me and just literally call me with buyer leads at the end of every weekend. So that would be where I'd tell agents to really think outside of the box. And when somebody says no to something, don't just end it and cut it off. There's so many other directions, to still pull value out of that lead.
Especially, you're in a super competitive market, so it's incredibly important. And most of us are in competitive markets, but there are variations in that. So I love that kind of story where you're actually engaging with the consumer directly and building that relationship, and eventually maybe he will sell that house and you'll get the double bonus.
And I'll leave it on one last thing. Who sees me show up every single weekend with a peach iced tea? All the neighbors. I talk to at least 1 or 2 neighbors every single. They go, "Is that your listing?" I go, "Oh no, it's been on market for like 3 years. I'm just helping the homeowner. That's all I'm doing." And they're getting this, like, I'm literally there to put out a sign, bring them a peach iced tea, and leave. I'm not there to sit there and stand in his open house and collect. So they get that feeling that like you really are just there, to help the homeowner, and they love it.
That's awesome. That is a great story. Thanks for sharing that with us. I'm just going to mention that at the end of this, we are going to do a giveaway of a Lofty swag bag. You might get one of these funky sweatshirts, t-shirts, pens, all kinds of good stuff that we have.
2 swag bags. 2 swag bags.
2 swag bags. Fantastic. And we'll look forward to getting those out to you. Tristan, I'm gonna shift a little bit here and go in a different direction. But can you share any pitfalls or common mistakes agents should avoid when it comes to lead generation and conversion?
Yeah, thinking that they're going to close tomorrow, or that you're talking to people that are going to buy something right now. That's the biggest turnoff for me on the consumer side, and for you buying leads. Like, have the right mindset to this. This is going to take a while. And if you approach it right, which is you're going to call them and you're going to give them permission to waste your time. It's like, "Hey, Robert, it's Tristan. Thanks for visiting our website through Google or wherever," right? "Oh, I'm just looking. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just looking too. In fact, I just sent over a property for like $50 million to my wife. We're not going to buy it, but I'm just looking. It's fun." And Robert, I don't want to waste your time or spam you, but are you looking to be closer to the ocean or up on the mountains? And like, "Oh, I'm just looking in the mountains, maybe." I'm like, "Awesome. What are you looking for over there?" And that's how the conversation, I give them permission, right? And then I get specific. "Do you want this or that? This or that? This or that?" Not yes or no questions. And then after yes, and then after they say, "Well, I want to be in the mountains," then I just shut up and I'm like, "Why the mountains?" And then they answer.
Yeah, they
And then
open
they'll
up.
tell you.
Yeah.
And then and if you can give value at that point, then you give them the value. If not, you go back to another specific question.
So what you're
But
saying is be patient. Again, go
yeah,
back to the discovery questions. Let them open themselves up to you as a consumer or as a person. You could say in that sort, because we do refer to them now as consumers, and you can say they are people, and they all have their different personalities and their wishes and their needs and their wants. So true. Some good points. Same question for you, Zach.
My big one on that, I personally think the reliance of leads, as in I need to keep pumping money in here, like this is going to be the key to my business, is leads. And I also think too early of delegation. I've seen a lot of brand new agents go pay for leads, go hire an ISA, and then essentially sit back and just think they're going to wait and collect a buyer, where even if that buyer or seller gets on the phone with them, like they're not a master at their craft and they're going to lose that person, but they consistently want to blame the leads or blame the ISA. So they switch companies, they hire a new ISA, and they keep on spending all this money and switching things, but they keep on forgetting that it's like, it's here, it's with them. Like an
Yes.
effective agent and agents who master at their craft are the agents who show up to the 8 a.m. role play every day. You know, they're the ones converting high quality leads, the ones who practice their questions while they're in the shower. You know, the ones that go listen to their calls at the end of every day. So I think the biggest mistake is people rely on the leads and they think that's like this end all be all to their real estate business, where leads don't mean anything if you can't handle them when they get to you. And like what Tristan's saying, I have a very similar question. They, oh no, Zach, just looking, or, you know, we all know exactly what they just throw. I go, cool, totally get it. Thank you for the update. Are you already local here in Dana Point? Now we're instantly talking about something else. They're, oh no, I live in San Diego. Nice. How long have you been in San Diego? We're talking, why do you live in San Diego? The thing is, we're not talking about being on the site anymore, like being in our system. We're talking as humans. So that's
Zach, what's your website?
famrealtygroup.com.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd say that. I think it's more on the agent than it is the leads. I think that's the biggest mistake. I think everyone thinks it's the leads, where really you ask them, how many times did you role play in the last year? They'll say like 2. They'll be like, oh, well, I've been in it for 10 years. I come from solar, so I don't need to role play.
And of the 500 leads you got this year, how many did you actually call? Right. I mean,
Exactly.
that's the one that gets me. I lived in the realtor.com world for many, many years and understand that, you know, it isn't necessarily the bad lead. It's really contacting the agent and having those educational discussions or real life discussions that help you with a hand up. Right.
Yeah.
Robert, I'm going to ask you the same question because I think it's an important one. Pitfalls and common mistakes.
Number one is people get into it with really not a clue about how long it actually takes to really get successful with it. If you're not steadfastly committed, so like let's say you're saying, hey, I'm going to invest $1,000 and do an ad campaign. If you're not prepared to do that for 12 months, just don't even start.
Right.
And then furthermore, one of the biggest things that gets me a little frustrated is people use KPIs to assess the lead quality that are virtually almost entirely dependent upon their own activities.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really a good metric of how good of a quality the lead is. When you really need to separate the process into phases. When you're capturing a lead, the definition of a good lead would basically amount to 2 things. Data validity, meaning the contact information is valid and matches the person. If you satisfy that, that's called an MQL, marketing qualified lead. That's a big one. And the next one would be, are they looking to buy or sell in the next 3 or 6 months? If you can check both of those boxes, that's a really good lead. Now, if you don't convert it, that's an entirely different question. It has nothing to do with Lofty's ads team. That has something to do with you. But everyone always looks at just conversion ROI off the leads, which is incredibly important. But you have to understand that that's virtually 90% dependent upon what you are doing in terms of your activities to convert that lead. So those would be the 2 things that I think: unrealistic expectations around time frame. The sister would be that not a commensurate level of commitment for that same time frame. And then third would be not having an understanding around how you actually assess lead quality.
Got it. Good answers, guys. I appreciate it.
I'm going to go to
stay
Robert really quick because he's right. He's right about that. In fact, if you want to get specific, the one thing that we've done a better job on for leads, incoming leads, here's really specific. When you get an online lead, you're going to call, text, email, text. That's the process. And this is what it looks like. Call. If they don't pick up after 3 rings, you're not going to leave a voicemail. You're going to call back after 20 seconds. You're going to call again. And then if there's a voicemail, we love to leave a voicemail for this purpose alone. The text says, hey, Robert, just left you a voicemail. Sorry, I couldn't reach you. Thanks for visiting our website. Are you looking for a house or a townhome? Question mark. Done. Text. I grab that, put it into the body of the email, subject line. Hey, Robert, sorry I missed you. I just tried calling you. And then I go to the next call, and then 20 minutes later, I nudge Robert if he hasn't responded with, let me know, ... And that's our process for every single lead coming through. And he's right. It's like we need to stay longer with leads.
It's a good point, and I might come back to you with something about chatbots and technology taking over. But I'm going to shift to Robert. Robert, because Tristan brought this all up with some manual effort there from the agent's part, Is there any specific piece of tech agents should be on the lookout for to make their conversions more successful?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we're trying to train agents and onboard new teams, we want to basically focus on the tools that will give us the greatest benefit with the least amount of input or least amount of accountability around it. So that's going to equate to really three things. And every lofty team owner or enterprise owner, or even if you're a single seater with complete autonomy of your account, you guys can do this in 10 seconds, which is to go in and configure your auto email settings around your market reports, market snapshots, and property alerts. Those are the three most effective tools that you'll have in your system. Our open rates are 50 to 60% on those. And so the first thing is you should see how many leads in your account are on a property alert, are on a market report, especially, and then secondarily, a market snapshot. So that's where we start, Stuart, which is to say, hey, get that because we know it has the biggest open rate and we know it's going to get a few hand raisers per agent across the year just by having a market report sent out once a month.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When the consumer visits anybody, and either one, anybody can jump in here. When a consumer visits your website, maybe it's your own domain or the broker domain. Zach, you might know more about that, or Robert, you might know more about that. Are you letting the chat bot, the technology engage at this point?
Okay, so our cadence is basically we allow a 60-second window from the point of registration until we engage first with a smart plan, a text message. So basically, we're allowing our ISA team to have 60 seconds. Now, our average speed to lead is going to be less than 30. So most of our leads are going to receive a phone call within those first 30 seconds. And just like Tristan said, if they don't answer, we'll hang up and call back again. It's called a double tap. But so we basically allow 60-second grace period. If we don't have 60 seconds, we have a text message that's going to start and it's going to generate another call task for our ISA to push it up to the top.
Gotcha. So you're using the technology, you're using all the pieces that are there, but you still want to make sure you're engaging within, you're doing within 30 seconds or a minute. Most people say, 2 minutes speed to lead. Good stuff.
Not even taking into account what you say. If you get them on the phone within the first 5 minutes, you're 21 times more likely than if you just wait 30 minutes. So the margin of error on these things is virtually very slim. And if you break it down, even the first 5 minutes, the conversion rate in the first 60 seconds is about 431% higher than in the 5th minute. So the margin of error on these things is very slim. If you're going to spend the money, you might as well be serious enough to say, hey, if I'm going to get a lead, I'm going to call within 60 seconds.
Zach, comments on that one?
Yeah, my big one on that is anybody here who's gotten a lead on the phone while they're still on your website is just a crazy feeling. Like it is just a whole over the moon. They're impressed. You're impressed with yourself off the bat. You're like, oh my God, you're still on the site. It's like everything just goes. So like speed to lead, I can't tell you, like it's something that's just on repeat, over and over. And sometimes it just takes showing, like, hey, physically watch me call leads in 30 seconds, like get that quick speed to lead. You can literally see them leave into nurture, into active clients, these other stages right off the bat. Because there's no way they leave that call not impressed that you, the agent, called them. Like not even like even an ISA getting them, amazing. But if like you, the agent, get a new lead, you see your Lofty notification, you click it, you call them and they're still on your site, like you're winning. Like you're impressive. You just beat 99.999% of every other agent, that's running leads on their site.
Got it. Robert, and we could start with anybody, but is there a specific piece of tech agents should be on the lookout for to make their lead conversion more successful? And we've talked about the way you guys do it, but give me your thoughts on that. And whoever wants to start.
Yeah. So first, I'll segue into that, Stuart, if I can. So to piggyback on what Zach said. So Zach, you were talking about, which was incredibly valid, which is when they're on the site at the point of registration. Perhaps even more valid is if they come back to your website. And so we have smart plans that will basically trigger additional tasks, So if they come back to the website, we're going to call them again when they're on the site. Because if you think about it, the majority of website search traffic for real estate is on Zillow, Realtor, and now Homes, crushing Realtor. If you get them to come back to your website, That's a really high level sign of intent. And that's a great opportunity because they're not on Zillow, which is going to take half your commission. Furthermore, how do you drive them to your website as opposed to back to Zillow? And that's from using the market reports, property alerts, market snapshots, and by helping them download the Lofty consumer mobile app. So that would be another really good piece, because if they can pull out their cell phone and pull up the mobile app and you can have a direct line to you, they can see properties, request showings. They don't ever have to get on their desktop and search for Zillow or go to Zillow's clunky mobile search experience. So if you have a client, at the point of the buyer consultation, when they're signing, have them download the mobile app and show them a very succinct way how they can use it. So that way there's a one-to-one loyalty link with you.
If I can quickly go off that really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about it when the Closely app, came out, or the Lofty consumer app. Like, how often is someone on their computer looking at homes versus how often they pull up the Zillow app on their phone and scroll?
Oh, I know I do.
Like, we're in the age of scrolling. So people
Yes.
are on Realtor, Zillow, all these are apps. Or they're even going to they're searching it on their phone in Google. Like, it's very rare people are just sitting at their computer for hours. We're agents, so of course we think people do that. But it's like average humans just scrolling on their phone. So I love that Robert brought that up, because putting that in front of them, you can already see segueing the opportunities start pinging off the hook. And that's like, there's a reason that TV sign has a little money symbol in it for opportunities. Because that's literally back to the site, viewed listing 3 times. Like, Lofty's literally saying, here's the money, go call them. Go get a hold of them. Like, they're back to your site. They're doing things that lead to a transaction. So having smart plans hooked to your opportunities, which is what it sounds like, I think is just like amazing. It's everything.
So that leads me to the next part that I want to talk about, which is really, how do you see the role of AI in lead generation and conversion efforts continue to strive in the right direction for the real estate industry?
So with AI, okay, me in particular, like with our AI, I think it's just big that you don't make it not an AI. So I see a lot of websites I go on and they're like, I'm Greg, I'm a real, yada, yada, and they're trying to be like this real person. Our leads and everything are well aware that it's a virtual assistant, like it's an AI, and like they're okay with it because they're not getting duped. And I want to throw like, that's the big word right there. Consumers hate feeling duped. That is like, if they're talking to the AI and then halfway through it's giving them the repeat message, or something like that, because they don't know what they're saying and they don't think it's an AI, they get duped is what they feel, and they leave. Where if you can let them know off the bat, hey, this is a tool in my pocket, because that's how high level of a team we are, that we have an AI that can instantly answer your questions, send you links, create a property alert, ping me when you need something. Like, I think it just gets pitched the wrong way. Like, as an agent, they all get scared. Oh, what if the AI messages my lead? Guess what? None of the leads care, because they know it's a tool in my belt. That expectation has been set. Where I think
we shouldn't be scared of
it like
AI.
a real person.
Right. We shouldn't be scared of it. We should work with it and make it better, because it is only going to get better, right? Things like ChatGPT built in, what it does for social media, posting content, all these different things. I mean, I think it's the time to embrace it personally, right? And let's move forward and make it real. Yeah, some great comments. What about you, Tristan? What do you feel about AI?
I'm going to go to Trenton on this one, because he runs all of our tech.
Yeah.
For all of our teams. And Trenton, how have you been using AI in our whole process, man?
Yeah, so we're definitely using it to, explore other smart plans as well, hitting more from the psychological factor instead of trying to sell the product, and really figuring out what that problem is that that they have. And then also creating a lot of blog articles just from it as well. So that way we have additional value that we can continue to bring leads back to the website, because it gets a little hard every time to where you're constantly asking, are you looking for a home? Are you ready to go buy now? You want to go see some, do this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But as long as we can continue to provide value, no matter what it is. And so we try to focus a lot on, what's happening in the month. How can we build ourselves as the experts of the community versus, again, trying to sell a home. So it becomes more of you're the local expert that someone's going to come to you for, the five best Irish places to go check out for St. Patrick's Day. And so, continuing to monitor that, whatever next month, whatever that would be, or, just funny things if it's April Fool's Day. So we're trying to provide that type of value, and then utilizing the AI that's already capable within Lofty as well. And so, we use the activities timeline every single day. And I hear a lot of people that don't even know what that is. And it's a place where you can use the people page and be able to track, save filters, and see who's on the website. But using the under reporting and activities timeline, you can actually see who's on your website right now, when they registered, how many homes they viewed, what homes they're viewing, save searches, things like that. And so it really breaks it down specifically as to what someone is looking for. So,
Gotcha.
it's already capable there, plus, trying to utilize some other systems as well to continue to drive people back to the site.
Awesome. Thanks for your input, Trenton. Much appreciated. Zach, outside of what's going on with the DOJ and, buyer leads and all that stuff, what trends do you anticipate will shape lead generation in the next 2 years?
So this is a fun one, and I see all the chaos, of people kind of going crazy. I personally didn't blink an eye because I know the value that we bring to a consumer. Consumers will always pay for value. Okay, that's what trust, value. Okay, those are the things that matter. They shell out money for stuff like that every day. Okay, it's literally what they look for in a product, partner, whatever it is. Like, it's how the emotions work. So if you can show up and be so valuable, and I'll take Matt Smith at EXP, was when he said this during a webinar. He was maybe speaking up, but he said, I provide so much value that it's impossible for them not to use me as their agent. Like, it's impossible. So with everything going on, I'm personally not super worried because I know that our value stack is set. And I think what's going to happen over the next year, few years, a lot of agents and teams are going to start to realize that their value stacks really aren't as good as they thought they were. Yep. And they're kind of providing more blanketed value statements. Like, I can set up on searches and kind of just all that basic things. Like, taking it up a level is what this is going to force teams and force agents to do, because otherwise they will talk to these people, not have the right value. And you're right, they won't want to pay them to be their agent. So all it's doing is forcing us to be a higher quality, a higher level agent, and refocus our intentions to the right place.
Gotcha.
Really building a relationship and being like the expert for that person. Like, they're not going to hesitate about using you or, having to pay a commission. So that's my whole thing. I think the value stacks are going to change dramatically. I think people are going to get more creative, with them, and they're going to all bump up a notch.
Awesome. Brady, I feel like I've kind of left you out here, and I apologize for that. And we talk all the time, but if someone were looking to change lead gen providers, who should they consider?
Yeah, let me share a couple pieces to shape that answer. Number one, I would say, is the different styles and availability of creating traffic, right? What are you going to do to increase the amount of eyes, clicks, and views that your website is getting every day, right? It's got to be more than just a Facebook ad or a Google ad or just a listing ad, right? It's got to be a combination of all those things over time, right? Then your system also needs to be optimized for lead capture. AI capturing leads. We talked about the blogs and how those can capture leads, your landing pages, the property pages on your website. All of that has to be working in harmony to capture that traffic that you're creating and pointing into your system. Number three is going to be a combination of the automated follow-up that you have and the manual follow-up that you're doing, right? Does your system text those leads immediately if you're in a listing appointment? Does it remind you to call those leads as soon as you're free? Is it setting up things like Robert talked about with the automated property alerts, or a market snapshot to send properties that are selling in that new leads neighborhood, right? So it's got to be a combination. After that lead's been driven to your site and captured, it's really got to hone in on what we're doing to help keep you top of mind with those folks, combining your efforts on a day in and day out, as well as what your system can do to back you up when you're tied up closing another business. And on that note, we've got a couple different ways that we think about that here as well with Lofty. So if folks have not had an opportunity to see us, let me pull up a QR code that we can use to get scanned in and get some information and a demonstration of the Lofty platform. We also have, for Lofty customers, the ability for you to jump in with our marketing team and put together some campaigns to start generating more ad traffic. And we have the ability to tap into a $200 ad credit for folks that are on board or not on board with us yet. Doesn't matter. Thanks to LabCoat agents and our relationship with Tristan. So please, guys, if you're needing more leads, if you're needing more efficient ways of following up and converting those leads, come on in and talk to Lofty. We'd love to show you what we do.
Awesome. Thanks for that input, Brady. Really appreciate it. That's really good stuff about where you need to take it to really succeed in this industry in this day and age, right? You do have to know about the tech, you know, social media, the content that you're putting out there has to be important. So that's kind of the end of our content, but we promised you, we've got 2 giveaways to do. I think the best way to do it is the first 2 people to type in the chat Lofty equals conversions win. And then we'll start taking questions. So if there's questions out there, just if you've typed it already, just please retype it so it's top of top of our screens here.
We're going into the chat, right? Not into the.
Oh, there's lots of people. Those Lofty equal conversions got lots
Everyone
of
wants the swag.
Wait,
anyway, we'll announce it afterwards, and you will receive your swag.
We're going for the first 2.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
First 2.
Oh, that'll be easy. I was late for sure. So
I want swag.
not me.
Wendy Howell, I want swag. That's not what I asked.
There's a couple of questions.
Let's take some questions.
That kept on coming up. One of them was, if we're looking to set up our Lofty account, our database correctly, is there help that we can get from Lofty to help us out with that? Or is that something that we would do outside of Lofty?
Brady, you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So number 1 is we run between 6 and 7 live scheduled webinars about implementing the software and the system correctly. Those webinars are ran Monday through Friday, and they're on our rotating schedule. And they are specific and topic driven, right? One day we'll talk about optimizing your website. One day we'll talk about optimizing your lead import and setting up the people tab, right? The homepage of your CRM. One specific tab will be about optimizing things like the property alerts and the market snapshots, which were touched on this call. So I highly, highly recommend that you tune into that ever evolving specific schedule. I'm happy to post a link to that schedule too if we want to tap in. The support team's also available if you wanted to create a ticket or submit an email. And I love chatting with folks too, right? My email is really easy. It's brady@lofty.com. If anybody wants to pick my brain about how to optimize their Lofty account, I'd love to show you what I know.
Brady, do you know this? There's a question there. Can you provide some statistics about the landing pages boost on social media?
We do have the ability to track ad traffic through landing pages. That's in the reporting section of the CRM. So yeah, great question. Love to show you where that lives within the platform.
In fact, could you put up that link so people that are already part of Lofty can join that? And as you're doing that, the 2 winners, Andrew Fishkind and Joe Hotchman, I'm going to put up Kendra's email so that you can email her directly. You're the winners. So let me pop Kendra's email. So Andrew, if you're still in here, Joe, just there you go. Kendra put it up there. Thank you, Kendra. Just let me know that you're here.
Brady, one more question before we call it a day. Is Lofty going to add search criteria that is similar to an MLS?
Ooh, you know what? I thought I saw a question about that. So here is my guidance. We have the ability to map any unique search fields that exist in your MLS. We have the ability to map those unique search fields into the property alert section of your CRM, as well as into the search function of your IDX website. You just need to submit an email and create a ticket for us to do so. It's done on request, but that way we have the ability to mirror the MLS fields that you typically use to set up property alerts. You'd now be able to set up alerts using those exact same fields within Lofty. So it's just a matter of requesting the specific fields that you want mapped over to us, but we have that ability.
Alexis Nunez wants to connect with Zach. I hope for business purposes.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what fields
found-
are they?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was just curious if you put in the chat box and then you keep going, Zach. What fields are they trying to map? Because we have dozens of MLSs, we have dozens of teams all across North America, and we don't have this issue. So I'm just curious, what fields you guys are interested to. And while you're doing that, I mention it because if you think about lead capture, how it works is every MLS has their own data structure. And so they may call certain fields different things. And so basically what Brady's talking about is we have to map things so that we're basically all the different MLSs are speaking the same language, which can be very, time intensive because MLSs are subject to make adjustments on their end.
Yeah.
So what I was going to suggest is if consumers are on your website trying to make very specific searches, that may basically bar out some of the people that would otherwise find interest. Most people, the vast majority of people, are going to come in and search for the main 5 criteria. They're going to make their first search and then hone in from there. So that's all I would suggest is to keep it focused on the primary search queries.
So Kinder just posted our training calendar in the chat. And at that, we've come to the end of the webinar. So I just want to say thank you to Tristan, Trenton, Zach, Brady, and Robert for their great contribution. I think, when you hear experts in their fields talk about how they're succeeding, it really motivates me personally, and I hope it motivates everyone on the webinar to go out there and try some different things. But also just to be the best real estate agent they can possibly be, and jump on Lofty. It's a great system. It does a ton, and has helped these people become successful. And we have close relationships with everybody here on the call. And if you want more information, I think everybody's okay to take an email or two. So thank you so much for all the attendees as well as everyone involved. Thank you so much.